Hey gang, what's up? Just Ehren here, Question Period Canada. How you doing? Big story in Parliament. That scandal that happened at the end of September with somebody that shouldn't have been invited to Parliament. Well, Trudeau invited that same person to another event in Toronto. His name on the invitation, all of this. The story has been broken by the Globe and Mail, but now Melissa Lantsman is breaking it down in front of Parliament. So, who's going to stand up for Trudeau? Probably not Trudeau. He's going to send in the leader of the House, the new guy, Steve McKinnon, who's a disaster. But we're going to check it all out and see what Justin was saying back then. Now it does not look good. He's coming off as a liar.
After months of feigned outrage and apologies on behalf of everyone else, a new report by the Globe and Mail shows that the Prime Minister's office invited a Nazi to his diplomatic reception in Toronto. He blamed the Speaker, saying that he acted alone. He's saying he had no idea about any of it. He called for him to take responsibility. He watched him resign, and yesterday he tried to blame the Ukrainian Congress. After all of the embarrassment, all over the world, why is he above the rules that he applies to everyone else?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, what we're talking about is a name that came from a community organization. Obviously, the Prime Minister had no knowledge of this, but here we know what is happening over here. We are voting today at third reading on the Canada-Ukraine free trade arrangements. Mr. Zelensky stood there and asked us to pass this. Their opposition to this bill is a moral failing of historic proportions in response to an effort to support our friends in Ukraine and repel the Russian invaders.
Repelling Russian invaders? What is he talking about? The question is about an invitation, and what did Trudeau know, and what is he trying to cover up? Stephen McKinnon might be worse than Karina Gould, if you can imagine that. Hope she's having a good time with her alien baby. But I don't trust McKinnon at all. I'm not even sure if he's a human being. Melissa Lantsman doesn't seem to be the type to shy away, so she's going to go at Stephen McKinnon again. But after that, we're going to go back to September and look at Poilievre demanding Trudeau take responsibility, and we can see what kind of a worm he really is.
What an embarrassment it must be for the House Leader to have to clean up the Prime Minister's mess every day. The invitation had the Prime Minister's name on it. It came from him, and for months he said only the Speaker invited him. It turned out not to be true. His own House Leader said that the invitation merited a Speaker's resignation. The Speaker resigned because of him, and all of them watched him do it. So will the Prime Minister be subject to the rules that he imposes on everyone else?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Again, Mr. Speaker, another small conflagration to mask their larger historical moral failing of not supporting the people and the armed forces of Ukraine and the President of Ukraine, who stood in this very chamber not months ago and asked us to support the Canada-Ukraine free trade arrangements. Then they voted against Operation Unifier and support for our troops that once again supports Ukraine. What is next, Mr. Speaker, and why will they not stop trying to hide their moral failings?
Shameful.
All right, well, let's blast back to the end of September when this was all going down. Poilievre was there calling Trudeau out on it, and now it seems like he was spot on. Trudeau's such a creep. Like, then you could tell he was lying, or that he's not a good liar, he just does a lot of it.
It was the personal responsibility of the Prime Minister to invite President Zelensky to the floor of this House of Commons. It was his personal responsibility to make sure it was a diplomatic success. It was his personal responsibility to continue to lead the government that has the security, intelligence, and diplomatic agencies that could have and should have vetted all individuals who were present and recognized. Yet this Prime Minister allowed for a monumental, unprecedented, and global shame to unfold in this chamber. Will he take personal responsibility for this shame and personally apologize on behalf of himself?
Right. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of all of us in this House, I would like to present unreserved apologies for what took place on Friday and to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation for the position they were put in. For all of us who were present to have unknowingly recognized this individual was a terrible mistake and a violation of the memory of those who suffered grievously at the hands of the Nazi regime.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Did the Prime Minister's national security, intelligence, or diplomatic officials vet the names of the people that the Prime Minister allowed within mere feet of President Zelensky?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the privilege and responsibilities and rights of parliamentarians are sacrosanct, and that the Leader of the Opposition would be suggesting that any visitor to this House should be vetted by the government of the day is actually a grievous attack on the rights and privileges of parliamentarians. However, if the Leader of the Opposition or the Speaker or anyone wants our intelligence agencies to vet any of their guests, we would be more than happy to do that in respect of parliamentary rights.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
So the Prime Minister has just said that he allowed the President of a war-torn country, who is perhaps the biggest target of false propaganda and of potential assassinations, to be surrounded by hundreds of people who had not been vetted for their security background, their potential risks that they present, or in this case, the massive diplomatic disasters that they could have brought to that event. Is he really saying that he did absolutely nothing to protect the Ukrainian president from all of those many risks?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the facts are well known here. The Speaker issued the invitation, delivered the recognition, and has taken full responsibility. The Leader of the Opposition knows that not one parliamentarian was aware, but the truth does not matter to this Leader of the Opposition. He distorts, misleads, aims to confuse, all for partisan gain. It's all he knows how to do.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, again, he deflects blame and responsibility for his personal failings. It is the duty of the Prime Minister to protect our diplomatic reputation. It was therefore his duty to ensure that his diplomatic, intelligence, and security forces ensure there was no one who could potentially present a danger either to the reputation or to the physical safety of the people present at such a massive international event. Right. But today, he said he did none of those things, and instead, after he found out about it, he hid in his cottage for 3 days. Is that what it means to take responsibility for this Prime Minister?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we all know how many years the Leader of the Opposition has served in this House, and we can surely remember all the times he has stood up to defend the honour, the rights, the privileges of parliamentarians. And yet now, in order to make partisan attacks, he is proposing that the government of the day have the ability to vet and oversee the rights of parliamentarians and indeed of the Speaker to include people in this House, to invite them into this House. I know that the Leader of the Opposition used to have more respect for Parliament than that, but he's busy making a partisan attack.
So the trick here is, out of this terrible situation with this scandal, Anthony Rota had to apologize and resign. He's still an MP, but he lost a big position. And now we have Greg Fergus as House Speaker. And I think that Trudeau just took advantage of the situation to make a change where he thought that he could, something that he wanted to do. He's a tyrant, guys. He's going to be a dictator. He's trying to be. And he'll do whatever in the hell he pleases. Thank goodness we've got Poilievre looking out for Canadians, keeping Trudeau on his toes. I don't know who else in that House of Parliament is going to be doing it. Like the NDP doesn't make the Liberals accountable for anything, the Bloc, whatever, and that's pretty much it. That leaves us with the Conservatives and Poilievre. Like and subscribe. We'll see where this scandal goes, and it's gonna break bad for Trudeau. And we're going to have an election, hopefully before October 2025. That seems like a long time away. I'm Ehren. This is Question Period Canada, learning all about Canadian federal politics, sharing that with you. We'll catch you next video. Try to have something healthy to eat and stay warm tonight. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.